I discovered very early on that competition was really the thing that drove me, and it was what I was passionate about. When I was a kid, it was sports. When I was a teenager, it was Counter-Strike, and it eventually evolved into poker, and it's been an absolutely incredible experience.
Canadian Griffin Benger has been close with computers and competition since he was a teenager. Before online poker, Benger was one of the world's top-ranked Counter-Strike players. Playing this first-person shooter video game gave him his first taste of TV time, endorsement deals, and cash prizes. But Counter-Strike could only take him so far. Now Benger plays poker. And since making the switch, he's made it to the very top of the online tournament rankings, earning more than $3.6 million under his online name, Flush Entity. To tell Griffin's story, we flew to his home in Toronto and caught him just a few hours after returning from a last-minute poker trip to the Caribbean.
I mean, I'm a very, very competitive guy, and poker's one of those games where, you know, they say it's a minute to learn and a lifetime to master, and it's absolutely true. I mean, every single year that goes by, I always look back at the version of myself a year before, and like I'm laughing at that guy. Like, I can't believe how bad he is, and that's just happening every year. I'm learning so much, I'm getting so much better that it's hard to sort of to put down the needle. It's just like, it's so exhilarating to keep learning and keep getting better, and the better you get, the more money you make. So it really drives any really competitive guy, and I think that's what happens to a lot of the better poker players, are really the most competitive guys. One of my good friends had a really good W Coupe, and he decided to go to Punta Cana for the Punta Cana Classic. And there was also a 5K that was going on down there, and he'd been bugging me to go for a while, but I just wasn't really something that I was that interested in doing. Last minute, I got an opportunity to go on like a free roll, so I decided, like, you know, why the hell not? And I got pretty deep in the tournament, so I unfortunately didn't get as much sun as I would have liked. I mean, it's pretty wild how just 1 minute you can go to the Dominican on a whim the next day, and that's really what I was thinking about was, you know, I feel like such an idiot not taking this opportunity. So yeah, no, it was a great time, and it was good to get away.
But playing in tournaments himself isn't the only way Griffin gets paid from poker. This summer, he swapped 2% of his action in the World Series of Poker main event with fellow pro Greg Merson. Griffin finished 304th, cashing for $38,000. But if Merson was to go on and win the main event, that 2% would be worth over $170 grand.
I couldn't be more happy for him, and I obviously really appreciate how well he's done, and I feel extremely fortunate and you know, flattered that he would swap with me in the first place. It's, I can't even imagine what it feels like for him, and hopefully someday I'll be able to feel that as well.
It's been an extraordinary thing for him, but as a career, I think all of these things are ultimately games. I still don't know in what sense poker has any utility, any social or political utility. It obviously has clear, you know, a lot of financial power, but, you know, games were always described in British culture as an elaborate waste of time, and I still think games are.
When I first started playing video games, I obviously was kind of a Duck Hunt Mario kid back then. And then GoldenEye came out, which was like the biggest game ever with all my friends, and we'd play, you know, we'd have 4-way sleepovers and just be playing all night, and got totally hooked on that game, and the whole FPS thing was just so awesome. And then the internet started to kind of become more into the forefront when it came to online games, and Counter-Strike was a hit, and it was just awesome. I remember the first time my buddy told me about the game, he just said it was something like it was GoldenEye on crack. And we went to an internet cafe, and there were all these guys that they were basically like squads of like Green Berets and stuff. Like, they were like this team, and that whole sort of like team aspect really I was really drawn to that because I was a big, sports team player. And yeah, it just went from there. We started doing these all-night passes and getting better and better and more into it, and it just blew up.
We're here with shaGuar just after winning the CPL Winter 2004. Unbelievable. 2 matches in a row. First time anyone's ever done it. Man, how jacked up are you? Come on.
I feel all right.
Don't hold it in for us. Don't hold us in for us. Come on now. We know it. We know it.
It's amazing, man. It's such a good feeling to finally win a CPL. This is the 7th CPL that I've been to, and every single one I've come in, and I've known our team could have done well, but I never felt fully confident that we could win until this CPL, and it definitely paid off.
Oh, I worried about it. It definitely had a deleterious effect on his education. He went to about 9 different schools because he was up all night, right? I worried about it from the point of view that it was addictive, and I worried about the content because it was first-person shooter, so it was killing people, virtually. So I kind of split off my opinion of the game as a human pursuit or as a career to my sheer enjoyment of my son's particular talent flowering, and he's very dedicated. And he's great to watch in competition. I mean, look at him go,
I really see it as sort of like a point system, It's not, the money never really gets in my head. I'm just trying to make the best possible moves in order to get as many points as possible. It's very similar to a video game for me. So, obviously the money's a lot different, and when it shows up in my bank account or whatever, or I have a big score, it does eventually hit you. But at the time, you're just focused on just like winning, and even for some of my bigger scores, I didn't win the full-out tournament. And there's been times when I've actually won the tournament for substantially less money, and I've been more satisfied.
He's a quick learner. He's a really smart guy, and he sort of caught on quite quickly to a lot of the concepts that sort of the regulars at the time were using to sort of exploit the game. He's never sort of satisfied with just being where he's at. He's always trying to learn from those that are better, and he's always trying to get better. But he's quite generous in certain respects, and then when other people aren't the same back to him, he's kind of like disappointed, and then kind of wonders why they're not as genuine, I guess, in that regard as he is.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where, if you say to a friend, they ask you how you did that weekend, you say, oh, I won $10,000 in this tournament. They just see that as, $10,000 that just gets zapped into my bank, and that I made that in one day, so I just make $10,000 a day. There's so many more factors, if I cashed it for $10,000 in a tournament, my buy-ins for the day were still, $6,000, and then, if you're backed, which I am, you split that percentage with your backer, and it's just like, so it's definitely, poker players are romanticized as making a lot more money than they do. It's a lot of the curse of the whole community, I think. There's a lot of players that, people have seen on TV win $1 million that are broke now, and that's just the reality of the industry. I think that a lot of the people that have the most money are the people that a lot of people don't know about, the guys that have been crushing online cash games for the highest stakes for years, and put away that money and invested that money, or the people that make a lot of money in an online poker series and don't take big shots and don't increase their volume substantially. So it's hard to explain these kind of things to people who aren't invested in the community. And it was the same thing with gaming. When I was doing that, a lot of people didn't really understand what I did, and unless you're kind of in it, it's really hard to relate to and get it, I think. It's really hard to make a lot of money in poker and stuff, especially tournament poker. Every Sunday, for instance, I'm buying in for as much as $10,000. Today, even more, maybe even like 12 to 15 because of this 5K. So if I end up finishing in a tournament third place for $8,000, I haven't even made my quota for the day. I'm still down on the day. So I think a lot of people see scores and they just think that when they're not sort of in it, they don't really understand like how big the buy-ins really are. Most of the respect that I get from my peers in the community is the fact that I don't really go on many big downswings, and that's kind of the dream, is to not have to really deal with these huge downswings that can affect your confidence. You start questioning yourself. You start blaming luck. You start blaming other factors, and it's nice that I haven't really had to deal with significant downswing in my I guess my poker career.
And now the river card. It is a 7, and there it is. is. Greg Merson is the new main event champion. He cleared so many hurdles on and off the felt to make this final table, and now has announced himself as one of the game's bright stars.